Welcome to the short introductory presentation to Sage Inventory Advisor. In this short presentation, we're going to position Sage Inventory Advisor as well as give you a short demonstration of the product, focusing on a couple of key aspects that are pertinent to this product. By the end of this presentation, you should have a high-level understanding of what the product is and where it fits into the overall Sage landscape. So to understand this, let's understand a little bit about what customers' key issues are. We did a bit of a review and asked our customers what are their number one issues that they're faced with on a day-to-day basis as it relates to inventory. 42% came back and said to us their biggest concern, and by far, is the issue of stockouts, having to manage that on a day-to-day basis. 37% said that they really struggle to find this balance between stock and customer fill rate and have way too much tied up in stock. 21% of them came back and said they spend way too much time recalculating ordering quantities. I think if you had to ask a lot of customers what their issues would be, they would probably respond to you that all three of the above are their core issues. And a lot of our customers did respond like that as well. The conventional wisdom and issue that we're dealing with here around inventory management really revolves around the following. It's easy to get great service, you just throw a lot of stock at it. The challenge that we've all got is to find a way to actually reduce that stock but still have great service. And in order to do this, what we've got to do is we've got to introduce a product like Sage Inventory Advisor that is a sophisticated but easy to use solution where you don't need to install a whole lot of new software and can get this really up and running with very little effort and just a few hours of training. It needs to get the job done obviously in a tenth of the time. And that's where we're positioning Sage Inventory Advisor as an add-on cloud solution into the existing environment. To understand what Sage Inventory Advisor is designed to do, it's designed to focus on two key areas. Really what is needed today, what went wrong, and what needs attention today, and what we need to be ordering. Underpinning those two key decisions really is a bit of data classification or product importance ranking, some forecasting, and this whole aspect of setting some target fill rates and target service levels around your stock so that your stock is being driven in the direction that you need it to for customer satisfaction. How it all hangs together. From your ERP environment, there's a client database that's running. There's an ERP system of some sort. We extract a bunch of data from there, and really simply these 10 little files are uploaded on a daily basis through to the Sage Inventory Advisor server stack. In the Sage environment, it is then processed and calculations performed, and a whole bunch of metrics are calculated, making the information available via your browser the following morning and or on demand as needed. That information, some of it is flowed back to the ERP environment via the Dropbox link. So let's have a look at some software. Logging into Sage Inventory Advisor, you'll find you land on this dashboard sort of view. Very quickly, the dashboard is designed to really identify those things that have gone wrong. I'm going to focus a little bit first on how to order, as the information around how to order actually flows nicely into understanding what the dashboard's telling us. So to create an order, I log across onto the order screen. I decide to create a new order, and I'm going to create a new order here for my main branch and place an order from the main branch on the central store, and we're going to say create an order. In this view over here, what we're doing is we're pulling together all the information needed to create the most appropriate order for the items in this main store off the central store. I like ranking these items in descending order of value in order to make sure that I focus my attention and my energies on the items where the orders are the greatest. So looking at this view quickly, let's understand what we're looking at. There's a quick view on the right hand side here, a view of the sales history in blue against the forecast in an orange type color going forward. The reason why that's shown on the screen is to give you a very quick indication of, hey, are the forecasts in line with the sales history? There are also other pop-ups, things like period to date analysis that pops up and says to you how we're tracking through the month. In this case, we've sold hardly anything of the forecast of the month, and we're 50% of the way through the month, so we should have done a lot more sales already. So we can see that we're tracking a little bit behind on this product. In the central area over here is a bunch of policy information, things like the lead time, how long it takes to get stock, the buffer stock, how much stock we plan to have in place in order to protect against the risk of supply and forecast inaccuracies, the replenishment cycle, how much we're planning to buy, when we buy, and the on-hand and on-order quantities around this specific product. If we hover over aspects like the on order, it'll give us the details of what the stock is that's coming at us, what the order numbers are, when it's due for arrival, so we can get a constant view of what those orders look like. The on hand, hovering over that view, gives us a view of what the stock looks like in other locations. In this case, we can see that this main branch has a requirement for about 1,000 units, but there is 191 items in excess in one other location called the small branch. So we might elect to actually reduce the order a little bit in order to compensate for that excess that is sitting elsewhere. So to look at this, the details on the left here, we've got details around the product. We've got the ideal recommended order based on those reorder levels. We've got the unit cost, and we've also got some information about volumetrics and when the item should be ordered. As I said in the start of the presentation, I'm not going to cover all the details on every screen, but just give you a bit of a feel for this. So if we wanted to amend the ordering quantity over here, that could be done quite simply by simply amending this quantity over here. And what you see the moment we've changed the quantity is that the totals on the bottom right hand side have adjusted. So it's given me a running total for this order as to what the volume is, what the order value is, and what the quantity is to be ordered. And as we change numbers, we can see those totals changing. That's quite useful when one starts looking at container optimization and stuff like that. You can also see in terms of the bottom of the screen here, there's the ability to add additional products to this list. And we can hit the download button, which, if this is linked to the ERP system, will take the data on the screen and push out a file compatible with the ERP system and allow you to import that as the order. So very simply, that's the ordering screen. To understand a little bit more about how we got to these ordering calculations and a bit more about this classification and velocity, let's drill into the details about this product. So to understand this product, this 25001 product, to understand more detail, we open up the inventory inquiry by literally just selecting the hyperlink on that page. This screen gives us a lot more information and really focuses all the bits and pieces of information for this one product from all sources into one screen. So you can see information around the forecast and the sales history again, also how the safety stock calculation is derived, measuring aspects like forecast risk and supply risk. You can see all the details of the policy, the reorder calculations in the central area of the screen, as well as measurements of what your stock is, what's on order, and what we should be buying right now. On the left-hand side is a whole lot of static information around the product, showing groupings and costing type information for the product. If we scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there's a host of other information also on display and available to the user on this level. First of all, the forecast itself, seeing in more detail with a bigger graphic and more numbers than that little graphic that was shown at the top. And should we want to amend the forecast, all we really do is select the Amend Forecast button. In this screen over here, we're able to amend any individual period or maybe a range of periods at a time. So if I select these 4 months and I decide that this forecast at the moment is a little bit on the low side because we expect things to increase, I can literally just use the slider to pull the forecast demand up and let go, and it's amended my forecast for those items. If I then apply those new forecasts, it'll then save that and amend all the levels and the calculations based on that. So that's as difficult as it is to amend the forecast for this item. Looking across the bottom here, some of the other tabs that are across the bottom here is details about the purchase orders, details about historical forecasts to measure the forecast risk, supply performance metrics that show us a bit more detail about how the supply deliveries have been taking place, details about any sort of sales orders or custom orders going forward, a bill of material or central warehouse sort of structures that are in place if that is relevant, a projection view that gives us a view of what's going to happen to the stock day by day going forward into the future. And there's also a comment section where we can add comments to an individual product across this one location or multiple locations at a time. By doing that, we put reminders in the system to tell people, hey, don't order this item, we're about to discontinue it, or something of that nature that will be useful going forward. So, having looked at an individual item now, the next thing that I want to focus a little bit of attention on is, you'll see on the left of this item code here is a little graphic that indicates the importance of the product. You can see this one is auto-classified, and it's classified as an A-high product. To understand how that's built, let's focus a little bit here on the classification. So I'm going to drill into the classification screen that I find under the location view over here. And what we can see here really is a basic level of classification that's being calculated for every item in every location and ranking all the items appropriately. The first part of the classification is a simple Pareto calculation, ABC ranking, based on the value of cost of sales. So we'll use the average cost and the average sales, and we'll rank the items from top to bottom. At the top of the list will be the item that produces the highest turnover for the business. At the bottom, the one that produces the least. And literally what we're doing here is we're taking the top 80% of the value, in this case 95%, because that is parameter based, and the top 95% of the value of cost of sales in this branch is being created by 157 products. So 14% of the product range is delivering 95% of the turnover for these guys. The next 4%, or 3%, sorry, comes from the following 107 items. And the balance, the last 2% that we're dealing with in this entire range, being 800 items or 74% of the range, only contribute 2% of the turnover. So you can see a nice quick ranking using the value base. But we know that value is not the only criteria that we should be using. So what we built in here is a velocity ranking as well. And this velocity categorizes using similar criterias, but this time ignoring the cost price, into high, medium, and low category items. And what we end up with is a ranking that's very similar to what we were looking on ABC, but this time just looking at it in unit movement. What's nice now is that combining these two elements together, we end up with something that we refer to as the matrix. This matrix highlights to you on the top right hand side in green the bread and butter line items, the items that are really significant because they move quickly and are significant from a value point of view. The C lows are the items that hardly ever move, and when they do move they hardly ever make any money for us. So they're prime candidates to be looking at obsolescence. On the top left hand side you've got the A low products. Here what we're doing is we're highlighting the items that don't move too much, but when they do, really do create quite a bit of turnover. So they tend to be quite expensive things that move really slowly. On the C high items, we're now dealing with cheaper items that move really fast. So these items really are the cheaper type of products that really spin quite quickly. So using this matrix, we can very quickly identify the nature or characteristics of the product, and this helps tremendously in identifying, one, the importance, and two, driving target fill rates and service levels into our product base and our plans around stock. Now, when we started this presentation, started the demonstration, we spoke about the two questions that needed to be dealt with. The one was the ordering, the other one was what has gone wrong. So in the dashboard now, if we have a look at this view quickly, you'll see that there are 6 graphics at the top. The 6 graphics that we're dealing with there really are very simplistic measures saying, here's your stock, we're sitting on 18.3 million, we're targeting 11 million. So there's some room for reduction in stock. We're sitting with a fill rate of 81%, although we're targeting a 97%. So we're probably going to need to invest some stock to get there. We're also looking at stock outs, and there's 244 items currently out of stock that could result in lost sales of 1.3 million. There are also a further 31 items that are currently heading towards stock outs, and these items could have a consequence of 430,000 lost sales. We also have 422 items right now that are in excess stock, so we should look at trying to reduce some of those items. And we have 166 items that are going to be locking up some working capital into the future in the form of surplus orders to the tune of 7.2 million. These little graphics that you're looking at give you a very quick dashboard view, high-level view of what's going on in your stock, and is really powerful to monitor and track over time and see how you've improved and made things better through using a tool of this nature. What we've also done to help focus on what went wrong is we've created what we call the top 15 list. And the top 15 list here identified the top 5 stockouts, the top 5 potential stockouts, and the top 5 surplus orders. By highlighting just these 5 items, we're dealing with 15 products that you need to be looking at, not the 2,000 or 3,000 products overall that you have to work through in the detailed report, but only 15 products. In these 15 products, we might find that we can quite easily get to actually doing something about them that's constructive. And if you focus on these 15 items every day, there's no option but for you to start improving your stock. So why is the top 5 really relevant? If we have a look at the top 5 stockouts, that adds up to 1 million in terms of a potential lost sale. If we look at the overall picture in our graphic at the top there, in the 244 items, that total lost sales was 1.3. So 1 million out of the 1.3 sits in 5 items. If we just concentrated on those 5 and really worked hard at solving that one problem, then the majority of the value impact that we have at the top here would disappear. We've gone through very basically the what to order and where to focus in terms of things going wrong inside the Sage Inventory Advisor product. Hopefully that's given you a bit of a flavor of what the tool's capable of. There's a number of tabs and aspects that we haven't dealt with in the short version of the demo. So if this is of some interest to you, then by all means give us a shout and let's find a way to give a more detailed demonstration of the Sage Inventory Advisor product for you.